Super Bowl 58 just days away, and it is our last episode of the Huddle before the big game. So join us today. We got a bunch of picks, we're doing trivia, we're talking storylines, and much, much more. Let's huddle. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is Super Bowl week, Super Bowl 58, just a few days away, and a little bit of an update here on the Huddle. Our boy Tony Farmer. Tony, I bet you didn't sleep last night because you're actually going to the game on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Shortly after we're done taping this show, I'm going to be on a flight to Vegas. The plan all along was I was going to be in Vegas watching the game in a sports book, but we talked about it on the show last week. I pulled the trigger. I got a good seat that I'm excited about, and going to my first Super Bowl. I'm pumped.
So what changed actually? Because it wasn't really long after we recorded the show that you were like, hey, guess what? I did this. So what was it that happened in that, 12 to 24 hours?
There was a little bit of like rationalizing it with myself. Whenever you make like a 5-figure purchase like that, you need to like justify it. And so I justified it in a couple different funny ways, as we do sometimes in life. I was like, I don't even know if I'm ever going to get married one day. I'm probably never going to get married. And some people spend 5 figures on a wedding. So I can justify it this way, right? But I was also like just obsessively, even before the show last week, I was obsessively looking at ticket prices, like literally refreshing like every 15 minutes. And so when this seat came along, it was just a really good deal. I went for it. I held my breath and I got it. And I'm very excited for sure. And the thing is that I've learned since the purchase, some people say, oh, it's foolish to spend that much money on a 3-hour game. I feel like I'm getting some juice out of this in the week and a half before the game. I've got all my friends reaching out to me saying, oh my God, I'm so excited to go that you're going to the game. I'm going to be rooting for the Niners. And just the excitement is building. So I feel like it's really a 2-week experience, a week and a half experience that I'm getting out of this purchase. It's cool.
Make sure you follow Tony on X as well, at Tony's Market Tips, because you're going to be banging out some content on site as well, aren't you?
Yeah, during the game, before the game from inside the stadium, and then even in the couple days before the game, I'm hoping to interview some former players and fans out there, see what people's thoughts are on the game before the game even starts. So yeah, I'll be producing a lot of content. Look forward to that.
At Tony's Market Tips on X, make sure you're following him because he's going to be tweeting out or Xing out? Is it Xing out? A bunch of stuff.
Yeah, what's the verb there?
I don't know. I don't understand the pivot. But he's going to be tweeting out a bunch of stuff from the stadium on Super Bowl Sunday. Did you pack your snacks? You got your coconut water good to go?
They're here. They're in my kitchen. They're not in the bag yet, but the snacks are ready to go for sure.
We're going to talk a little bit more about the game, not as in-depth as we did last week with our guy Ryan Hogue on the show. But first, we're going to get started with the picks. You've got 4. I've got 3. So I want you to take it away. What are you looking at officially on Super Bowl Sunday?
Yeah, I don't know if people out there heard that Jed York passed along the story of Deebo Samuel at halftime of the NFC Championship game. He looked at John Lynch in the locker room and he said, tell Kyle to give me the damn ball. So I like Deebo, not just because of that anecdote, but I like Deebo Samuel over on his rushing yards in this one against this Chiefs defense, which we know is soft against the run. So you can see Deebo getting the ball up the middle on some end arounds, and Kyle Shanahan doesn't have to worry about Deebo Samuel's health in this game because it's the last game of the season, of course. So like Deebo Samuel over 16.5 rushing yards, minus 110. You can ladder this up to Deebo Samuel over 25.5 rushing yards, plus 210. And if you want to be a little more risky, you can add in some risk after that. But I think this is a big day on the ground for Deebo Samuel.
I'm going to start with coin toss. I'm going to go, start with a bang on Super Bowl Sunday. I'm going to go tails minus 104. And Tony, look, tails has dominated in recent Super Bowls. Just a really great run by tails here in recent seasons. 7 of the last 11 Super Bowls have come up tails, including last year at Super Bowl 57. This includes, Tony, a 6-7 run between Super Bowl 48 and Super Bowl 54. And let's not forget, Niners called tails and won versus the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 54. The Niners called and won tails in that coin toss. So I think they definitely go for it again as a strategy, and the coin flip gods will smile upon us with tails coming up on Super Bowl Sunday.
All right, that's one I cannot get on board for, but I will be rooting for that one from the stadium, sending you some good vibes, and I hope you win your bet.
Why not, man? Like that's a lock. Coin flip lock.
You've got the trends on your side. I'll give you that. But yeah, I can't. I don't like paying juice on it. If you can give me some plus 110 odds on tails, I'm all for it.
Sure.
My next one here, Justin Reed, Chief Safety, over Jair Brown, total tackles and assists combined. This is a head-to-head matchup prop. I think there's a chance that Jair Brown starts this game and doesn't finish the game. He's been playing really suspect defense lately. The 49ers have a very experienced backup in Logan Ryan, who admittedly hasn't been playing that great either. But I could see a scenario where Kyle says, I'm going to trust the veteran. You know, this guy missed the tackle, and Jair Brown gets pulled. Even absent of that situation, though, if both of these guys start the game, I think Reed's going to have more tackles and assists anyways. This is a guy who had 11 total tackles against the Bills. He's a great player on their defense. So if you're going to give me minus 110 odds on Reed over Brown, total tackles and assists, love this one. High level of conviction on this bet.
My next pick, I'm looking at the total here, and I'm going to go under 47.5 in this one. I just don't think that this is going to be back and forth on the offensive side of things. Apart from the Bills game, Chiefs playoff games have been really low end. I mean, there was a total of 3 points scored in the second half against the Ravens. The Chiefs used to win football games with Mahomes and a slew of supremely talented players across pretty much every skill position, but not so much anymore. This is a very strong defensive unit that is going to make Brock Purdy and the Niners offense work incredibly hard to just get first down, let alone points. And both of these teams sort of love to keep the ball and keep that clock moving. Both are top 10 in the NFL in terms of time of possession. So I think we might see some long drives, death by 1,000 paper cuts kind of thing. And I think I like that under 47.5 by game end here.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning that way too, Andrew. I do have some advice for people, though. If they like this bet, I would wait until kickoff because I'd be shocked if it wasn't at least 48. I think the public is going to push this over up. So I would wait to put that bet in if you're going to do the under. And the same is true for like some big props. Like if you're going to bet like a Travis Kelce prop under or something like that, Patrick Mahomes passing yards under, I would wait until right before kickoff to make those bets. My next bet here, will there be a missed field goal or extra point by either team? Minus 110 on the yes. This is all about Jake Moody. He struggled. He's only hit 3 of his last 6 field goals. He also missed an extra point recently. Butker's solid on the other side. So this handicap's really about Moody. I'll throw another bonus one out there for you. Will Jake Moody miss a field goal? Plus 290 on that one. And so let me play devil's advocate with my bet here. My only concern is, will we see Kyle Shanahan not trust Moody and not even give him the opportunity to kick, say, a 46-yard field goal or something like that in the first half? He's going to go for it. So the attempts might be low, but I still like this bet here at minus 110.
Looking at the wide receiver position for one of my favorite props here, I'm going to go Brandon Ayuk over 4.5 catches here, plus 110. Ayuk has had 14 targets in their 2 playoff games, 6 against Green Bay, 8 against Detroit, so the opportunities are going to be there. Of course, we remember that one drive he had, which included the doink catch there. His high for targets this season was 10 in that frankly terrible game against the Cleveland Browns. And he's eclipsed this number 9 times this season, and he missed a game, so that's 9 times in 18 games, including playoffs. His season high for catches is 8. He got that in week 1 against the Steelers. I think coming off that NFC Championship game where he had some big plays, they're going to look for him often in the Super Bowl. So give me 4.5 catches at plus money for the former Sun Devil.
My last bet here, Kyle Juszczyk, Juice as we call him.
Juice.
Over 3, yeah, buddy. Over 3.5 rushing yards.
I love this one.
You can find it at minus 115. This is an example of where you really have to shop around for props, not just to find the best number, but looking at other props at the same book. Because check this out, Andrew. You can find Juszczyk at like 1 reception or over like 0.5 receptions for like minus 140. So I would argue that if Juszczyk does make a catch, it's not going to be a 1, 2, or 3 yard catch. It's going to be at least a 4 yard catch because that's what he tends to do. You tend to find him down the sideline or the middle of the field. So I think you're getting great value here, minus 115. We've seen him show up in big games in the playoffs. It's almost like he's Kyle Shanahan's secret weapon on third downs that he saves them until the playoffs. Case in point, 3 catches for 39 yards and a touchdown the last time the 49ers played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I love that one. So there you go. Some 7 picks for Super Bowl 58. Tony's going to have more. He'll bring you up to speed on all of those on the day. So Tony, talk to me about the game. Talk to me where the odds are, where they've moved since they got hung on Sunday night. And you alluded to it when I bet the under there to wait a bit closer to kickoff in the expectation that it's going to move. But I guess my question for you is, why hasn't that number moved yet on the total? We know the public loves to hammer the over in the Super Bowl and frankly, most standalone NFL games, but why has that not budged north of 47.5 yet?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm kind of surprised by it as well. I'm still confident that it will by kickoff. It's noteworthy that 47 is a pretty key number. When I say key number, I mean a game that totals often land on. You'll see a 27-20 and things like that. Lots of variations of it. And so, yeah, it's interesting that it's hung there. It hasn't moved. But really, again, we know recreational bettors tend to put their bets in Saturday night, maybe Friday night, and we're just not at that point in the week yet. So while I am a little surprised that hasn't happened yet, I'm still confident it's going to. Niners are 2-point favorites right now still. Super noteworthy, though. Where's the juice? If you look at the 2 big American books that a lot of recreational bettors use, we see the juice is leaning toward the Chiefs. And the juice on the bets gives you an indication of where the line is going to move next. So right now, the big books in the U.S. are leaning toward the Chiefs. In other words, they're discouraging you to bet the Chiefs right now by cranking the juice up on it. So that's telling us that more than likely the next move is to go down to 1.5 here and start trending a little bit toward pick'em by kickoff.
I just want to put this out there and get your thoughts. But our boy Ben Fox tweeted yesterday, 3 biggest reported Super Bowl wagers so far. We had $1 million on the 49ers money line at minus 120, $500,000 on 49ers money line at minus 125, and another $500,000 on 49ers money line at minus 25 again at a different shop. What do you make of that? Are you aligned with that sort of betting? Do you feel confident as a Niners fan about this game with those significant bets on the Niners money line? And when you make your first 6-figure wager, which side would that be on?
Yeah, so I won't be making any 6-figure wagers in this one. I'm aligned in that the more I look at this game, the more I like the 49ers. That zone rushing attack, the Chiefs struggle to stop that kind of rush game. So as long as the 49ers stick to the run with CMC, with Debo, I think they're going to be okay in this game. I really do. The one thing I'm not aligned on, I don't take a lot of stock in those things, Andrew. Like when I see, these big $2 million wagers, a lot of times sportsbooks are limiting the really sharp bettors who put in big wagers and make a lot of money. So a lot of times these large dollar wagers are not necessarily from sharp bettors. They're just from people who have a lot of money. So that doesn't make me feel any more confident. Like, I like the Niners. So does, all these rich guys that are putting in $1 million wagers. That doesn't affect my level of conviction, but I am aligned with those people who have put those bets in. I like the Niners in this one.
I've been cautiously optimistic in all 3 Niners games so far. Frankly, I thought the Packers game was going to be a struggle. The Lions were always the one team in the NFC that gave me sort of pause when, going into that one. And it's been tight in both those games. And I expect another one on Super Bowl Sunday. It is frightening to bet against Patrick Mahomes. He's got the hot hand. The Chiefs have sort of been, bucking the popular trend week in, week out. Everybody's sort of sour on them, but here they are in the Super Bowl. And here you see some numbers, Tony, like Niners 9-10 this season, including the playoffs, 9-10 against the spread. So not a great bet. The Chiefs have covered in 5 straight games here. Look at that under record. We know the sort of not feudal offense, but not the Chiefs' strength that we know in years past. 6-14 to the under. And look at that turnover diff. That's something that surprises me as well. Plus 12 for the Niners, minus 9 for the Chiefs, despite having that, close to elite defense.
Yeah, that turnover differential is definitely noteworthy, and that's something that the 49ers are really going to need in order to win this game. Also noteworthy on this graphic is that the 49ers have lost 3 straight against the spread, and the Chiefs have kind of, I don't want to say come out of nowhere because everybody knows who the Chiefs are, but against the spread, they've really been doing well lately and playing like a Super Bowl caliber team these last couple weeks. So it's going to be fun, man. This matchup is exciting. I got a question for you, Andrew. If we woke up Monday morning and I told you there was a blowout, some team won by 3 scores, who is the more likely team to win a blowout here, do you think?
The Niners easily, just with the elite guys they have in those big playmaker spots. I mean, we've already talked about Debo and Ayuk so far, but you bring CMC into the mix. Like, I just feel like if it is a 2-3 possession sort of score, that it would be the Niners. I feel like the Chiefs win a sort of knockout sort of, drag out game. I think a 1 possession game might favor them just with Mahomes. Like, let me ask you this. If we woke up Monday morning and I said, hey, dude, Mahomes had the ball with 90 seconds left and 65 yards to go, do you think he gets the job done?
I threw this question, a similar question, out on Twitter. I asked 49er fans, what would you prefer? Jake Moody's lining up for like a 48-yard field goal with 2 seconds on the clock and you're down by 1. Or Patrick Mahomes has the ball, that scenario that you just said, say like his own 20-yard line, and there's like a minute and a half on the clock and he's got all 3 timeouts. Like, where are you sweating more if you're a 49er fan in those 2 situations? I mean, that's a tough one.
Very tough. I want to talk about something that has not been, part of the discourse in this week and a half, 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, and that's injuries. Like, frankly, on the Niners side of the ball, we're pretty healthy. I know Kittle's got a toe thing. Debo was banged up a bit going into the NFC Conference Championship game. But what are you seeing on your end when you're deep diving the handicapping side of this game, just in terms of the injury front?
Yeah, it looks like the 49ers are going to be really healthy going into this game. George Kittle's got a toe thing, but there's no scenario that's going to keep him out of this game. I think he's going to be close to 100%, especially with these 2 weeks of rest here. The injury news is really all on the Chiefs side. Joe Thuney, all-pro guard. This guy's really darn good, and his backup is he's okay. So it'd be a big deal if Thuney was out against this interior of the 49ers defensive line. They're saying it's going to be a stretch. He's got a pectoral injury. They're saying it's going to be a stretch for him to play, that it's a pretty serious injury. So that's a big knock on the Chiefs right now, not having him. Sky Moore is a guy who, is expected he could be off of IR. He's a depth piece as a wide receiver. Not, anybody that's going to put fear into the 49ers defense, but he is someone that that Patrick Mahomes has trusted at times on that offense, and he's made some big plays. So that's another name to keep an eye on. Willie Gay, linebacker for the Chiefs. That one's kind of up in the air as well. And so these are things to monitor, especially the Willie Gay one. Monitor his practice schedule, monitor the practice reports going into the game.
Yeah, not a ton on the injury front. And the Niners are, knock on wood, we're lucky going into this game, with a couple days to go. Quick announcement here, and I'm calling all prop bettors. If you consider yourself a prop guru, you want to listen up to what I'm about to tell you. OddsShark is running a Super Bowl competition in partnership with the folks over at Better Edge. It is the ultimate Super Bowl prop pick'em contest where you can compete for cash prizes. So what you'll do is make 25 picks from Super Bowl 58 markets, from things like the spread and total, all the way to something like Kittle total receptions or Brock Purdy rushing yards. And we know how good he did look in that second half against the Detroit Lions. Entry deadline is Super Bowl Sunday, so picks will lock shortly before kickoff. It is $25 per entry, and there is limited space. It is up to 400 contestants only, so get in quick. The top 3 will receive portions of the prize pool, with 50% going to first place, 30% going to second place, and third place getting 20%. Visit our contest page at oddshark.com to get the full details on the contest, including sign up and more today. Sign up is pretty standard. You'll enter your phone number, enter the confirmation code, update your profile information, verify your ID, add funds to your account with bank card or credit card, and join the OddsShark partnered contest. Like I said, space is limited. I will link to the OddsShark contest page in the description, so make sure you get that done today. I want to talk about... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it should be a fun contest, a great way to spice up your Super Bowl Sunday. Because there are 25 picks, you're going to have your attention diverted on a lot of different things that are happening at once. Make the game a lot more fun for you.
Yeah, and people that finish in the podium get a cut of the pool. So it's going to be really fun. Some great props to pick from in there. And hopefully you can win some cash. Tony, not a ton of off-field distraction as well this year, but is there, which do you think is the bigger issue? We've had Pat Mahomes in the news. We've had Kadarius Toney in the news. We've had the Niners upset at the state of their practice facility. Do we factor any of this into our handicapping moving into Super Bowl Sunday? And which of those is a distraction, if any?
I would say the biggest issue of the three, none of them are a huge issue in my opinion, but the biggest issue of the three would be that practice field for the 49ers. They've had to kind of move around their practice schedule so they can be on a field that they feel a little more comfortable right now. And it's probably just annoying. It's probably like a paper cut, they've got to kind of move things around a little bit. And just looking at this, would you rather be the Chiefs that are bragging about how great their facilities are and how happy they are, or would you rather be the 49ers that have this little bit of a headache? So don't think it's going to be anything that really affects the game. It's not anything that affects my handicap. But as a Niner backer, would I prefer that this happens to the Chiefs? Sure. It is, little tiny little factor. And sometimes those tiny factors can add up and be a big deal. But it's nothing that we're going to be seeing and talking about by the time the game kicks off.
And you'll have a better idea of what I'm about to ask you when you're there on the day. But just purely based on proximity, do you reckon that this might be sort of almost a home field game for the 49ers, just based on the number that will be making the trip to Vegas?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm anticipating, not just because of the proximity, but also because it's more of a novelty that the 49ers are in the Super Bowl than the Chiefs, right? This is the Chiefs' fourth Super Bowl in the last couple of years. So those fans are probably running out of money right now. And so the 49ers are anticipating a win, their sixth Lombardi trophy, which this franchise has been chasing for a long time. But even bigger news than all of that, if you saw the reactions that Travis Kelce and George Kittle and the teams in general got for the Super Bowl kickoff event in Vegas, there were highlights from that. The Chiefs were getting booed big time, and the 49ers were getting cheered big time. That's not necessarily an indicator because we don't know for sure that those same fans have tickets to the game, but it could be a little bit of an indicator here that the 49ers are going to have home field advantage in the Super Bowl, which is a big deal. Way bigger deal than the practice field thing, way bigger deal than the other off-the-field distractions that you mentioned for the Chiefs. 49ers could have a considerable home field advantage here. I'll be keeping a close eye on that when I'm there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear your report on Super Bowl Sunday about that very fact. You talked about the Niners sort of chasing that sixth Vince Lombardi trophy. And I got to ask, as a Niners fan, I mean, this is like old. Like we were winning Super Bowls throughout the 80s and 90s. But as a football fan or a Niners fan, what is your favorite Super Bowl memory?
Gosh, so even though it wasn't the closest game, I've got to go back to the Niners' last Super Bowl win, that 95-96 season. I was like 11 or 12 years old at that point. And at that point, the 49ers were dominant in the 80s, games that I was too young to see. But I certainly didn't realize it was going to be this long between their next Super Bowl victory. And if I had known, I would have savored it a lot more, even as a kid. But in terms of like the most competitive games, the most fun games to watch, a couple that come to mind, that Rams-Titans game where you had Kevin Dyson get tackled, that iconic video of him just like stretching for the goal line and getting tackled. That was a really fun game. And then I'll go with another Rams Super Bowl. How about that Rams-Patriots Super Bowl where the Patriots like came out of the tunnel all as one team instead of doing like the individual player announcements. That was a fun one to watch. It kind of kicked off the Patriots dynasty, and the Rams were, if I recall, 13-point favorites, 13 and a half. So they were definitely double-digit favorites in that one, and nobody expected the Patriots to do what they did. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, that was coming off the Tuck rule too. That was the AFC Championship game, Tuck rule game as well with Adam Vinatieri. So there was just a lot of lure around that game as well. So that was another fun one to watch. How about you, Andrew?
I can go, being an older gentleman, I can go a bit further back in the time machine, but one that I always love is that I think it was Super Bowl 23, Niners, Bengals. It was Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Taylor, and then on the Bengals side, it was that Ickey Woods season, like they were Ickey shuffling week in and week out there. They won it 20-16. I think that was the John Taylor big touchdown toward the end to cement that game. Tim Crumry had the leg break in that game as well, and as a young kid watching that game, that was my sort of first intro to Grizzly on-field injuries as well. But that was sort of the one that cemented me as a 49ers fan. And here we are all these years later, we get to go to another one. That was a big one for me. I responded to a tweet from the OddsShark account the other day, earliest Super Bowl memories. I do remember having that 85-86 Chicago Bears New England Patriots game on TV, but I wasn't watching. But the first one I remember watching was Doug Williams becoming the first African-American quarterback to win a Super Bowl with Washington a couple years later. So that would be the first game that I watched front to back. What about Super Bowl commercials? Do you have any favorites?
Oh, there's been so many classics over the years. How about the Budweiser frogs, the Bud Wise?
Yep.
Yep. That's always a classic. Some of the Clydesdale commercials, it's always beer commercials for some reason that come to mind, are like the most memorable ones.
Yeah.
Lots of good Clydesdale commercials for sure. Those would be the two dominant ones in my brain right now. I know I'm forgetting so many other funny ones though as well. How about you?
Well, my favorite is the Bud Bowl back in the day. And I know I'm dating myself again, but going back in the day to the Bud Bowl commercials, dude, like that was appointment viewing back in the day. Like you were locked in to see how, Bud versus Bud Light was going on. You talk about a bunch of Budweiser commercials, and it's true. There certainly isn't a ton of coconut water or, pistachio. What was it? Pistachio butter.
Pistachio butter, buddy.
Products. We might get there this year, though. We did a fun trivia last week with Ryan Hogue, but unfortunately he can't be with us. Dude is schmoozing on Radio Row today and for the rest of the week, right?
Yeah, he's up there and having a good time. I checked in with him through text earlier in the week, and he's having a great time in Vegas right now. So yeah, bummer he can't be here to lose at trivia again 2 weeks in a row, but we'll have to have him on again so he can lose at trivia again.
Well, I firmly believe that this is all a ruse, that he is available. He just didn't want to face me at your... And for the vibe I get is that this is going to be much more difficult than the 10 questions that I put out there. Like you and Steve in the group chat talking about the over-under's 2.5 for this. Is that true?
Yeah, these are tough questions. These are not your typical who was the Super Bowl MVP this year type questions. These are the questions that are going to make you think, and I encourage you to take as much time as you need on them. Are you ready to roll?
I'm ready to go. Let's get into it. Here are Tony's 10 Super Bowl questions. I've not seen these, of course. The over-under's 2.5. So let's see where we go here. All
right. Who were the starting running backs in the 2009 Super Bowl? This is the Cardinals and Steelers.
Edgerrin James, Jerome Bettis.
Edgerrin James and Willie Parker. So you get 1 or 2 there. How many Super Bowls, take your time thinking of this one, have the Denver Broncos played in?
Have the Broncos played in? They had the back-to-back wins. Elway was in at least one before. They got blown out by the Niners or the Cowboys, and there's Peyton Manning. I'm going to say 4.
8, believe it or not. Isn't that crazy? Yes, I know. It's crazy. It's hard to believe. Going all the way back, yeah. Third question here. Which quarterback threw for 323 yards and 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, in a losing effort versus Tom Brady in the Super Bowl?
Which quarterback? Okay, in a losing effort. I think did you just allude to it? Was it Kurt Warner?
It was not Kurt Warner. Check this out. It was Jake Delhomme. Nobody talks about how close Jake Delhomme was to being a Super Bowl MVP. He put up a hell of an effort in that Super Bowl.
That's a good one.
Who was the leading rusher? We talked so much on this show about the Raiders-Buccaneers Super Bowl in 2003. Who was the leading rusher in that game with 124 yards?
Was it Charlie Garner?
No. That's a good guess because he played in that game, but he struggled. He didn't even have 20 yards in that game. It was Michael Pittman with 124 yards. These are tough, man. Who were the only 3 players to score a touchdown in the Bengals-Rams Super Bowl 2022? Only 3 guys. So they may have been in the end zone more than once, but only 3 guys scored in that game.
Okay. Bengals-Rams, you said?
Yep.
Okay. 3 touchdowns.
Only 3 players scored at least 1 touchdown, so 3 guys.
Okay, so then let's go. Boyd?
Nope, good guess.
Cooper Kupp?
Got it.
And oh, that's a tough one, man. It wasn't Chase, was it?
Nope. OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr. I'm going to give you a half point for that one, though.
Okay. I'm sitting at 1 right now. 1 point.
You halfway through, man. The total's looking like the line was set right. Next. All right, 49er Super Bowl against the Ravens, the game where the lights went out, 2013.
Yep.
Can you name either 49er player to catch a pass that's not named Vernon Davis or Michael Crabtree? In other words, only 4 49ers caught a pass. 1 was Vernon Davis, 2 was Michael Crabtree. Who were the other 2?
Anquan Bolden?
Nope. Good guess.
Brandon Lloyd?
Nope. Randy Moss and Delaney Walker, old friends. Remember those guys?
I used to love Delaney Walker.
Oh, that guy was so underrated. I loved him when he was on the Niners. Next. Who was the leading rusher in the Colts-Saints Super Bowl of 2010? He had 77 yards.
77 yards, 2010.
Colts, I believe that was the onside kick game, wasn't it? Sean Payton's onside kick game.
Colts, Saints. Oh my goodness. I can't even think of who would have been the running back for the Saints back then. Who the heck was that?
I'll give you a hint. It was not a Saints running back.
It was the Colts running back?
Yes, sir.
I don't know.
Joseph Adai. 77 yards. These are tough, man. These are tough. Who led the Eagles in rushing in last year's Super Bowl?
Who led the Eagles in rushing?
I'm being kind of tricky here. I'll give you a little hint.
Was it Swift?
No, it was Jalen Hurts. Yep. This is a tough one. Kelsey caught a Mahomes touchdown last year in the Super Bowl. Who caught the other 2 touchdown passes for the Chiefs? This is tough.
Kelsey caught 1. Hardman?
Great guess, but no.
Okay. Christian Okoye.
No, sir.
Kadarius
Toney and
I was going to say Tony.
And Sky Moore. Well, you didn't.
I wouldn't have said Sky Moore.
That's a tough one. All right. Which Packers wide receiver, last question, your chance at redemption here. Which Packers wide receiver had 9 catches for 140 yards and a touchdown against the Steelers in 2011? 9 catches, 140, and a touchdown versus the Steelers in 2011. Which Packers wide out?
2011. Oh, man. So that's Aaron Rodgers. 2011. How many catches?
He had 9 catches for 140 and a touchdown.
9 for 140. 9 for 140.
And it was a wideout.
Yeah, okay. That's a tough one, man. Antonio Freeman.
Jordy Nelson was the answer.
My God.
Yeah. Those are tough. I almost feel bad now. Those are tough questions. So here was my plan. These questions
Those are some
originally
deep cuts.
All right, so these questions were originally for you and Ryan both. So my plan was that you guys were going to tie at 0, and then I would be the trivia champion because I'd have 1 full win, and you guys would only have a half a win in the standings.
I guarantee Hogue would have won that one. He would have gotten some of those.
They're tough, man. They were intentionally difficult questions. So
Jordy Nelson?
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
I mean, that is a humbling experience. Those are great questions, though. Like, that's going deep into the Super Bowl memory bank there.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me talk to you. Obviously, we'd be remiss if we did not address Taylor Swift. She's been a big star throughout the NFL season. Our very own Josie Costigan did a great video on Super Bowl betting involving Taylor Swift yesterday, so go check that out. It's in the short section there. I want you to tell me, set the over-under here for appearances between kickoff and final gun of Super Bowl 58. What's the over-under for Taylor Swift appearances on camera?
Man, so that's an interesting handicap because you've got to tie it in with like Kelsey's performance, right? So if you think Kelsey's going to have a lot of catches, they're probably going to show her more often, certainly every time he scores a touchdown. So you said from kickoff, so we're not doing like pregame intro stuff. I'm going to say during the game, 11. I'm going to go with 11.
You're going to say 11, so we'll set the over-under at 10.5. I sort of agree, and I agree with your rationale there as well. I think, obviously, Patrick Mahomes is going to lean on Travis Kelce frequently, and with that, we'll have cutaways to Taylor in the box or whatever. That's even if she gets to the game. Isn't it this whole thing that she's like in Asia, and she's got to come all the way back for Vegas for Super Bowl Sunday?
I mean, that's the only reason I'm going to the game is because Taylor's going to be there. So, I'll have my binoculars ready.
It'd be amazing if you can get some FaceTime with Taylor Swift. Do what you can do to get an interview with Taylor Swift on the day, man. I hope the box is like right above you wherever you're sitting.
Hopefully she's not heard anything I've said about her boyfriend. Then maybe I'll get an interview. If she's heard any of my takes on Travis Kelce, I got no shot.
We've got to say goodbye. You've got flights to catch here. You're on your way to the Super Bowl. Dude, I am completely envious. I am so happy for you. You're going to have an incredible time in Vegas and at the venue on Super Bowl Sunday. So let's hear it. Who's going to win Super Bowl 58?
I think the 49ers win the game. I think the 49ers win by, we'll say 4 points in this one.
So 49ers win and cover the number. There you go from Tony Farmer. Tony, my friend, safe travels to Las Vegas. You'll be hearing from Tony throughout his trip to Las Vegas and from the stadium on Super Bowl Sunday. I've got my fingers crossed. Again, I don't know if cautious optimism is the right phrase. It's going to be a slugfest, but let's go 49ers. Tony, have a great trip, buddy.
Sounds good, man. Looking forward to it.